The Suns, they lead 63-47 at halftime, but some drama to end the second quarter here. Chris Paul was assessed 2 technical fouls, yes, by Scott Foster, and was ejected. Steve Kerr picked up 1 technical foul himself. Perk, you're shaking your head. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, because, like, Scott Foster has to stop, right? And I know it takes 2 to tangle, and I know that CP wasn't the same in this, but at the end of the day, we all know their history. And I done been in games where I done played with Hall of Famers and they didn't have a bad history with refs, and refs would actually conversate with them and tolerate their emotions. Right there was like 0 tolerance, and it comes to a point where you have to ask yourself, when is Scott Foster gonna start being held accountable? Chris Paul ejected for the first time since February the 16th, first time ejected in a Scott Foster game.
Yeah, I just realized that players and officials are human. But with this matchup here, and we're not even talking about player to player, we're talking about player and referee, there's a magnifying glass on this. And so I agree with Perk. You don't want to be in a situation where you're Scott Foster and now you're ejecting and it becomes a bigger part of the narrative. Yeah. Even if that means you have to let Chris Paul say what he has to say and walk away and find another time to talk to him. Well, that's some of the best refs sometimes say, like, you know, we hear some words out there and they let them fly sometimes and sometimes they don't. But when you're Scott Foster dealing with Chris Paul, that narrative can run wild. And so I think that both are human. I'm sure he felt some type of way about what was said. But you have to realize the time and place. And I feel like this was a heat of the moment type of decision. And at the end of the day, the NBA requires their best players on the floor for us to have a great product.
I do want to underscore that it is the first ejection in a Scott Foster game for Chris Paul. But to your point, Chiney, we saw Giannis was ejected a couple of games ago for that quick picking up 2 technical fouls. We do want to see the stars on the floor. But the fact of the matter is Golden State is trailing big at halftime. They're already down Draymond Green. Now they don't have the point guard on the floor. So you're just knocking on wood. That's your solution for Golden State?
No, you hear me knocking? Well, let me in. That's what KD's saying about the MVP conversation. I told y'all before the show started that was going to be the problem, and he's been tearing the Warriors up. No solution.
There's so many great storylines in the NBA. Yep. About teams, about players, and for some reason we continue to sleep on Kevin Durant. What he's been able to do while holding this team together, buying them time to get their big 3. He's had 18 points in 17 minutes or something like that. I mean, he's a machine.
Say it with me, Malika.
Where does Golden State get a little bit of help, Perk?
He averaging 31.
30.
Say it.
31.
Yeah, 31.
31.